So thank you very much, Abigail, for that introduction. My name is Kadem McGillivary. I'm an electrical engineer in the power utility sector, focusing on numerous aspects from customer metering to protection systems to renewable energy. All right, and I'm also a graduate from the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus. So let me stop my video, and of course, I'll go straight into the presentation. So welcome everyone to our Cybersecurity Awareness Fundamentals Workshop. Again, for those of us who are joining, my name is Kadem McGillivary. I'll be a presenter here this afternoon, and we'll be focusing on beginner tips to protect you and your data. All right, very exciting stuff. So let's dive in. So just as an introduction towards this workshop, give you an idea. So cybersecurity awareness is a broad field, and for those of us who may not be familiar with it, it's something that could expose you to the good and the bad side of technology. Security awareness requires a lot of focus on the fundamentals and building blocks for privacy and security. Within this workshop, we're looking at 5 fundamentals and trying to give you an idea of how you can best protect yourself and others. Of course, security awareness is a very important topic, and it teaches us how to avoid online risks and practice good cybersecurity hygiene practices rather at home or in the workplace. So that's a quick introduction of what we're going. We have a goal for this workshop. The goal of the workshop here is to raise the security awareness of individuals to potential threats and how to avoid them. So you're going to identify, of course, what threats are there, and of course, what tools and tips you can use to protect yourself, your identity, your family, friends, and of course, others. All right. So before there, I'll just like to introduce a poll, from Abigail. Just keep it interesting. Abby, would you like to share that poll for the participants?
Right, so for the first question, have you ever participated in any cyber safety awareness training? So 9 out of 10 persons who responded said no, right? So we really have a crop of brand new persons here today, which is great. And again, feel free to ask any questions. The other question is, are you currently enrolled in any ongoing cyber safety awareness training? And 10 out of 10 persons said no. So I'll hand over to Kadem, and and really that is something to be concerned about, because we are all online. So we should all really have been engaged in some sort of cyber security awareness, workshop, or just to make you aware of, what are some of the threats out there and how to protect yourself. So I will stop sharing the poll and hand over to Kadem.
Thank you for that, Abigail. So as we see here, a lot of us, as we identified, are still young in the cybersecurity realm when it comes to best practices on protecting yourself and others. So hopefully that going into this work, going into the slides, this presentation some more, you would gain some in-depth knowledge, just even if you're scratching the surface as to how best you can protect yourself by doing these small changes in your everyday lifestyle, right? So cybersecurity involves everyone, all right? It's very large, it's a large domain. And one of the things I just want to highlight here, of course, is this software and technology alone cannot protect you from everything, okay? We all have our antivirus on our phones, on our computers. We all have the security settings set up, etc. But that alone does not guarantee us full protection. And if you probably read a few disclaimers in some of these services, they don't guarantee 100%, just as how we buy, so when it was COVID and we were buying cleaning solutions, 99.9% or 99.5%. They cannot fully guarantee, so they leave that margin there for error, so to speak. Cyber criminals go where the security is weakest or where the reward is greatest. If persons are not fully complying with having the right passwords or having the right security protocols in check, then of course you are at a greater risk for a cybersecurity attack. They tend to go after even the bigger players. So let's say just a recent one, I'd just like to highlight, there was a recent one with PayPal, in that when you get into PayPal, when you have a data breach in PayPal, you have access to information for thousands of customers where you could just easily pull the credit card information, whatever information, personal information that they have there. And just like that, you're a victim of cybersecurity fraud. It involves everyone, and I mean everyone. Cybersecurity awareness is for your business owners, your parents, your children, employees, seniors, for those of us who have our grandmas or grandpas, everyone. I mean, if you could even teach us cybersecurity to our pets, that might be a plus on the that may be a plus for us just to see, because of course, the more we have people aware of what is going on, the better chance we have at protecting ourselves and others. So that's one of the key points I just want to highlight. It is for everybody. And of course, no one is exempted from being cybersecurity aware. So one of the first tips out of the 5 that we like to highlight here, the first one is password hygiene. And of course, password hygiene is one of the most important parts in cybersecurity awareness. It basically involves you having your passwords and how do you create them, how do you use them, how many accounts do you use it for, etc. So it doesn't involve, obviously, taking your computers or cell phones and washing them or bathing with them, etc. Of course, that's not what we meant by password hygiene. So one of the key things here on the picture with the sticky note I'd like to highlight. How many of us here, just as an internal, and you could answer internally, how many of us here have gotten a new password? Say we got a new phone, we logged in, Gmail account, we forgot the password, we write it down on a sticky note, and we say, all right, this is our new Gmail password, and we leave it there, of course, for future reference. But that now is a big risk, because of course, anybody else within your home, just the same, or within the company that you work for, would now have access to your new password. All right. This goes just the same if you have a password, you use it, you have online sticky notes, Google Keeps, for example, you write down your new passwords there, you tell yourself, okay, that's it. No, that's not it. That's a very dangerous practice, and we need to get ourselves out of that practice. So I like to identify here characteristics of strong passwords. And there are 5 tips here. Now, when you're creating a strong password, they must be at least 12 characters long. 16 is better, of course, for those of us who would like to have a very long password. The use of mixtures, the use of words to create a memorable sentence. So we also like to call this a passphrase. And a passphrase could be a simple example as, my wife horned me, just as an example, yesterday. That could be a passphrase. Simple as it is, it works 100%. If you add in characters and symbols in between, then of course it makes it even more stronger. And of course, it's something that you could easily remember. So just as an example, another example could be, my dog died on April 22nd. That is literally a passphrase just the same. All right. Next thing we like to identify, passwords have to be unique and never repeated across multiple accounts. Many of us have Gmail accounts, Hotmail accounts, Netflix accounts, etc. And we tend to practice same passwords. That is not the best approach. And we're going to see why in that is not recommended in the industry. And of course, one of the biggest things, they're complemented with multi-factor authentication. And multi-factor authentication is basically saying I'm going to sign in, but something else is going to do you're going to do a second check to verify that it is you signing in and not some random attacker that is trying to get access to your account. And a pro tip here is, of course, if you have a password manager, get one. It's a software that would create, store, and sync your login credential information across multiple accounts. So it's much easier then to have unique password because you have a centralized platform where you could easily access all your information. All right. So here I'd like to show you what you call the Hive Systems password table of 2022. Now, this group of people would identify that how long would it take for an attack or a hacker to get access to your account using passwords based on your characters, and if you have a combination of letters, symbols, numbers, etc. And what we'd identified, of course, as we recommended, using 12 characters, minimum at least 12, with numbers only, an attacker could easily get into your account within 2 seconds. If you use lowercase letters with the numbers, if you just use lowercase letters, 2 days. Upper and lowercase letters, 24 years. Numbers, uppercase and lowercase letters, 200 years. And numbers, uppercase and lowercase letters with symbols, 3,000 years. I think 3,000 years is more than long enough before a hacker decides I'm not going to try and get this person's account. So that's the beauty about creating passwords that's very complex in nature, but again, easy to remember. With the 16, of course, then you have 5 hours, 3,000 years going into some higher range here that, of course, we will not even live to see those times there. But that's just to identify how easy it is right now, and that how hackers could just instantly get access to your account if you're just using 5 characters, 4 characters, or even 6, right? So that's just something to keep in mind, of course, with your passwords that you have now and creating passwords for future accounts. So what I mentioned early on about multi-factor authentication. Now, multi-factor authentication really is, again, it's a second verification step into saying, I am trying to get access to my account, and there's just another check in place. So have you ever seen those movies where you probably go through a vault? So the first access is the security pin, and then the second access is your retina scan. This is an example of multi-factor authentication. We're just trying to make sure that it's the right person accessing this information. And we have different methods of multi-factor authentication. We have the mobile device applications. All right, some of us are probably familiar with it. Some others may not be as well. So you have applications such as Google Authenticator. Google Authenticator, that's the Play Store application picture at the bottom right corner. Microsoft Authenticator at the top there. And Twilio, Authy, is another popular authenticator, just the same. But typically, people mostly use the Microsoft and the Google. And of course, you have the SMS authentication, just the same. So if you sign into Amazon, Amazon might say, let us send you an SMS code to verify it's you. A phone call, you could do that with WhatsApp. If you set up your WhatsApp, WhatsApp could send you a message, send you a phone call, just verifying it's you. And of course, email. So these are methods in which you could use for setting up multi-factor authentication, but the recommended one is using a mobile device application. So I'd like to share with you here a short video on just how multi-factor authentication works and how it can potentially save you in the future.
Here's the thing. Anyone can be fooled, seriously, even the most tech-savvy person. Let's say you got fooled by a phishing scam and they hacked your Gmail account. Now they can start hitting reset password on your other apps, and guess where the reset password link ends up at? Your hacked Gmail account. And that's why a password isn't enough to secure your digital life. We need a second authentication method, or what is usually referred to as multi-factor authentication. It's when you need to type in a code after you enter your password to finish logging in. This code is either sent to your phone or generated by an app that creates new codes every few seconds. This way, even if your password was stolen, they don't have that second code to get in. Many apps have this option, but it's turned off by default. You can usually find it in Settings, Privacy or Security, and look for multi- or two-factor authentication. Using an authenticator app is the preferred method because scammers found ways to also fool you to give them the code that was sent to your phone. Microsoft or Google authenticators are two apps that you can download from the App Store that will generate these codes for you. If your company has an alternative method, follow their direction. Oh, and never share these codes with anyone. I mean anyone.
So that was just as a brief intro on multi-factor authentication. And closing off there with that, I would like to ask Abigail, our moderator, to please present the poll number 2 for our participants. All right, thank you very much, Abigail. So we see here quite a few of us, I guess those of us who joined in after basically, or even before, use multi-factor authentication. Some of us don't, and some of us are not exactly sure. That's okay. It's a very interesting it's a very interesting feature to set up, and it's not always talked about when you're doing when you're setting up your account. So that's fine. But thank you for participating there. All right. So we'll close that poll there, Abby. And we'll continue along with the presentation. All right. So our second tip here today is basically think before you click. All right. Think before you click is a phrase used in the cybersecurity awareness training platform that basically says, okay, before you do anything, and absolutely anything, take a minute, pause, ask yourself a few questions. Does this sound true? Is this a legitimate source? What are they asking for? Are they asking me to do an action? Are they asking for information? And of course, by just taking the moment to ask yourself some of these questions, then of course you could potentially save yourself, others, and the company you work for from a potential cyber attack. All right. So it makes a big difference when you just take that extra moment to avoid any malware infections, data leaks, or harmful consequences. So, Abby, I'd just like to impose on the other poll that we have there. So we've seen that at least everyone who would have answered the poll say they do think before they click, which is good. Congratulations for that. You're becoming one step closer to being a cyber hero, a better cyber hero rather than you're currently are now. So keep it up, and thank you for being a thinker before you click. So let's dive back into the presentation here. So common warning signs, we'll just want to show you in when you receive, like, let's say an attack, or let's say an email, for example. Now, one of the biggest things is that we would always have bad spelling or grammar. So they may use verbs out of context. It reads, when you read it naturally, it doesn't flow, of course. Bad spelling, an example, LinkedIn. LinkedIn with a 2 I in the end. Maybe you may not pick it up from, you maybe get a LinkedIn, say a LinkedIn request, and probably if you look at the sender, you see it's not from one eye, but a two eye at the end. So that could probably throw you off. So just keep that in mind. There's a sense of urgency when you're being attacked. You know, your email, they may try to replicate an email saying, I'm your boss, please send me the financial records for 2020. I'm about to hit that big meeting, etc. So of course, that's the sense of urgency. Your boss is about to go in a big meeting. He wants the financial records for 2020. What do you do? Well, do you call and ask? Of course, yes, you do. That's a best practice that you do. There's sometimes threatening language. Let's take, for example, we all shop online. An email may come through saying, okay, we have a situation where your Amazon package may not be delivered. And please update your account information so that your transaction can be processed, etc. That's basically saying, if I don't update my information, then I might lose my Amazon package, FedEx package, or another email could come from HR saying, please update your account information before the payroll can be issued. All right. Unrealistic promises. I think we are all fully aware of the emails we tend to get from our brothers in Africa, you know, saying that the king has died and left $10 million in our name, and you need somebody to help us get that money out. So very unrealistic, I must say. Unexpected attachments, they may send you something that you're not expecting, and that's a big red flag, just the same. And suspicious links. You have to click on something to do a process, and that's where they want to hold you. So of course, the pro tip here, I just want to identify, is never assume a message is trustworthy just because it appears to come from someone you know. Always verify legitimacy before taking any action. Always. It doesn't matter who it is, what it is. It doesn't hurt to pick up the phone and make a phone call and verify that you are requesting information, etc., or something else that you check. All right, and I'd just like to share with you here another video on email attachments and what to look out for. So let me share that information.
Do you know how to spot a malicious email attachment? Here are a few tips on what to look out for. When it comes to email attachments, look at the file extensions. Attackers often try to hide malicious files in email archives. Be wary of these. Files with double extensions are very suspicious. Remember, the only extension that matters is the last one. But even harmless-looking Office documents could infect via security holes. Install the latest security updates to stay safe. In the same way we tell our kids not to accept candies from strangers, don't trust an attachment from someone you don't know. It's probably malicious. If you receive an attachment from someone you do know, but you haven't expected it, verify with the sender first. Your friend's accounts may have been compromised. And when in doubt, contact your IT security team and ask. And remember, always think before you click.
All right, that brings us to the end of that video. I hope after this particular video on those points, some of us who said we think before we click, we practice some of these tips here that I've identified. And if we don't, then we should, even if it's not in the cybersecurity realm, of course, but in our day-to-day lives and practice. All right, tip number 3. Identify social engineering. And we all hear a lot of terms about engineering just the same. We hear electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, social engineering. Not social media engineering, I could tell you that. But basically, it's the act of manipulating people in performing actions or divulging confidential information. That, in a nutshell, is social engineering and what a social engineer would do. Social engineering is all about distraction and misdirection. So I want us to think of it as an example here of the picture on the right. We typically see magicians or magic tricks rather card tricks, cup tricks, etc. The whole goal behind those tricks is to distract you and misdirect you in that you're not seeing what they're doing on the side. So, typical example, the cup. The ball starts off in the middle. You blink your eye once, they tell you look away, they tell you something, and then all of a sudden the ball is on top of your head. That is an idea of how social engineering is trying to do. It's trying to mislead you and distract you from seeing the bigger picture until it's too late. All right. So just to kind of elaborate more there on that. So social engineering is a psychological manipulation. The social engineers want to access your data or secured areas, and they acquire it by leveraging human emotions and, of course, your trust and abusing your trust. So somebody could pretend to be your best friend, a new coworker could just come in and he's being extra nice. He wants to see all what you're doing, and he's like, no, you don't have permissions to come inside the vault with me as yet. You need higher clearance. That's that sort of thing. They're trying to be a little bit, not saying it's a bad thing, but you just have to kind of keep your guard up as to what it is some people should be previewed to. All right. And to prevent this from happening, of course, we use common sense and situational awareness. Somebody may just throw something into a room and say, oh, my cup fell into the vault. Just as an example, let me just go in and grab it. And go in and grab the cup. They may just snap some quick pictures or some files. You never know who's you never know who's hired them. Could be the Russian man, could be the Chinese man. You really don't know in today's world what is really going on. So we just have to be aware. All right. Someone going to request confidential information, money. Always try to verify the identity before proceeding. And one of the biggest things, never plug in USB drives or devices that don't belong to you. We're probably walking through UE for those of us or through work. We find a flash drive in the carport. Free flash drive, 128 gigs. Nice. That has probably brought joy to a lot of us, mostly. But that's not always good. It could be a direct attack. It's targeting people from the organization to plug in that flash drive into a company computer, or into your personal computer, and just like that, the information is a malware could be infecting those computers, those servers, and your information could be easily obtained by these hackers. So just keep that in mind whenever we find certain things lying around. Could be coincidence, could be an attack. Of course, a pro tip, whenever you're faced with a situation that triggers your emotions, of course, slow down and think critically. Always ask the question, am I being scammed right now? Is this real? Is this Samsung Galaxy S25 legit? I don't think S25 is out, but you get the idea. All right. And social engineering tactics to look out for. So just kind of highlighting a few here. Your friend sends you a strange message. Maybe your friend WhatsApp you saying, hello, I'm in a financial strain right now. Can you borrow me $200? It could be a sign maybe your friend's WhatsApp has been hacked or email just the same. And of course, that heightens your emotions. Again, the request is urgent. So you have attacks where basically saying, please log in and verify your account information before we can pay you or before your order is processed. Offers are too good to be true. You're now a recipient of $100 million US. Please sign in here and verify your information to collect your prize money. You're receiving help that you didn't ask for. So never know who could probably be eavesdropping and trying to figure out what's going on with you. And the persons can't prove who they are. So typically attackers always try to pretend they're somebody else. And they tend to do it with maybe somebody create a fake profile from Trinidad and Tobago, just as an example, and saying, I live in Maracas, or I live in Arima. So at least you could say, okay, you live in Arima, you probably know them, he's a good friend of Bob. So that's some of the things I try to do. Tip number 4 here is physical security. All right. Now, everything else is just as important, but physical security is still very much important. You still need the padlock, you still need the chains, you still need to secure your physical assets. All right. And that includes taking simple actions as locking your workstation when it's not in use. So for those of us who may not be familiar, if you're a step away from your computer, you could just lock your screen. So a simple shortcut for that is like press the Windows button and press the L key, and that would just lock your screen. So if you have to sign back in, of course, you have to put in the password. Very simple, easy. Shredding sensitive documents. Not everything we want to have lying around on our desk, and if we're no longer in use of it, and of course, let's shred it and get rid of it. And if we have drawers on our desk or at home, just the same, and we have secure information in there, let's make our best effort to lock these before you leave and know who has access to them when need be. All right. And identifying here another pro tip: when you're traveling or working remotely, never, and I want to emphasize, never allow a stranger to watch your stuff, even if they're the security guard or the employee or whatever the establishment you're visiting. Go with your stuff, take it and go. You just never know what's actually going on. You're in an airport, probably, you have to run to the washroom, just take your bag and go with it. It's not probably a lot, but it's one of the best things you could do to safeguard yourself. All right. And the last and final tip here is following policy. Now, basically, that more involves you in the workplace specifically, and certain work environments have policies in which persons need to adhere by. So just as so you have your, how would I say, vacation dress code policy, for example, some may have policies that say, okay, what are the things that you should do if you have to travel for the company, if you're handling sensitive data for the company, so that sort of thing. It's always important to know these policies and to try to follow them at the best that you can. They are designed to protect the privacy of you as an employee, clients, customers, and business associates. Circumventing policies for any reason puts everyone at risk. In the bank, let's say the bank get hacked, a lot of people's information is going out there. So of course, bank associates, employees need to be following their policies, and that customer data is secured at all times and is not just going home. A typical example, those of us who probably saw the news, Joe Biden went home with some top secret documents recently, and they catch him. I think Trump did just the same. That's not following policy. That's breaking the policy for what they have in compliance with keeping his documents secure. So that is just a clear example of breaking policy and possibly ending up in a dire situation. Of course, if you need more help about policies or anything security related within your company, just ask. There's no harm in asking. If they don't have it, then I encourage you as an individual to keep your best practices in how you're going to handle information to safeguard yourself and others just the same. All right. It's not always there, but let's be on our best to be the greatest cyber heroes that we can be and empower others that we know would be in need just the same. All right. So that brings me here to the end of my presentation. I would like to say thank you to our participants for joining us here this afternoon. We just covered the 5 fundamentals in this workshop. I really hope that they were informative. They brought certain things in better picture, expose you to something that you may not be sure about, and you gain more knowledge overall. All right. So thank you for being a valued member of our security awareness team. You're the last line of defense when it comes to cyber threats. And It's your commitment to security that ensures the continuous success of yourself and your organization. This cybersecurity doesn't stop here in this workshop. It's a lifelong learning process in that threats are evolving, improvements are coming out to mitigate these threats, and of course we have to keep ourselves up to date in becoming victims of these threats, and of course others. All right, so thank you very much again. That concludes my presentation here for this afternoon. So Abby, I'm not sure if you want to take it back to your side. And sorry, before we end, there was another poll. Apologies there. Abby, there's another poll I'd like to share with our participants. So could you please put that up?
Yeah, the poll is up. I'm gonna share the results now. Majority of persons responded. I saw 4 persons said that they do know someone who suffered some loss. It would be interesting to hear those stories if we can. Perhaps sharing might allow us to learn something. But for the most part, it's good that the majority of folks who responded did not suffer or know someone who suffered some loss from cybersecurity attacks.
Indeed, Keston. So thank you, everyone, for participating in our poll and in the presentation. We will open the floor for any questions, comments, and let's have a discussion, shall we?
Maybe I was suggesting if any brave soul would like to share about any cyber safety experience they or somebody they know may have had. If they would like to share that, that might be one way to kick off the conversation.
So, well, I'm not sure how bad of a cybersecurity this is, but I think it's one of the emails that is sent saying job description, X, Y, and Z. So it'll be like 3 times every week you complete this task for me and you'll be paid this amount. So one of my peers would have thought it was legitimate, and they would have reached out to me and say, hey, maybe I have this opportunity for X, Y, and Z, and I would have to give them that, not to act on it any further if they already started, because it's a common scam. So it was a little story. It was kind of just a bit silly or funny how, and then that's when I showed them more experiences on these are the things to look out for and stuff. So just thought I'd share that.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very but just the same, I think we all have experiences of like that as well.
Yeah, I think I have a hand there from Vashti.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have a question.
Sure.
You said to use a password manager, which is a software. If that is a software that is used to store your password manager and your passwords and so on, and it manages it for you, is that software subject to interference as well? Can it be hacked?
Just when you want to
Yeah,
take that
that's a really good question. It's a good question. The short answer is yes. As with any software, nothing is 100% proof or secure. In recent times, there have been, not when I say recent times, maybe a couple of years ago, there have been instances where certain password management software has been compromised. The thing to note though is that password managers would encrypt your password. So although your password is compromised or the website might be compromised, the likelihood of somebody deciphering what your actual password was. So if your password was what's a good password? Well, any password that you save in the password manager, it doesn't save it in plain text that's visible for everybody to understand. All right. So the encrypted password although leaked, which is still an issue, the threat or the risk rather of the actually knowing what your password is minimized. And to add to that, almost all password managers I know, they are held to somewhat of a higher standard of security. So they are under a lot more scrutiny from authorities. They have a lot more compliance regulations and policies that they have to adhere to. So to summarize, yes, they can be compromised, but I don't know personally of any that have been in the last 5 years or so that I can think of. And also, if they happen to be, the likelihood of your password, your actual password being known, is very slim. So the guidelines that Kadem would have mentioned, although using a password manager, still you want to have a very strong password. That is unlikely for somebody like me to try to figure out what your actual password is. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you, it does. And I have one other question. It's about WhatsApp. They say end-to-end encryption. Does that mean that information you said you may have to send on WhatsApp can be compromised as well, or does that end-to-end encryption work?
It's a very good question. Yes, the end-to-end encryption that WhatsApp and other applications utilize now essentially means that when it reaches the recipient, only their device can view the message. So anybody who is listening in between the communication would not be able to see it. Of course, if your phone was to be compromised so much so that somebody could view what is happening on your phone before it's sent to the person, as in if they could view your screen, so they see what you type and they see what you're doing on the phone, that does not accommodate for that. But if your phone is secure, there's no viruses and nobody's seeing your screen, the messages that you send to the person can't be intercepted by anybody in between. So yes, it's secure for the most part.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, good questions. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'll just like to add something on there.
Sure.
So there's a little icing on the cake. And so yes, very good question. One of the things I could say from my personal experience is that I would have done, we all have accounts from different platforms, Google, Amazon, Facebook, etc. And one of the things I did last year is that I did what I would call a account audit. So I went back into all my accounts that I use, I don't use. So sites I probably would have signed in on, created accounts to download something. I just went back in and said, I'm no longer using this, so I'm going to delete it completely. Delete my account from this platform completely. I'm going to update my current passwords to a more stricter, at least 12 characters or more, and set up the multi-factor authentication as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. So you have, because from time to time, we probably have a lot of accounts spread across. So it's good to know exactly the most important ones, I would say. So for some of us, like our iPhone users or iCloud, those accounts, Google, your Google accounts, but you try your best to strengthen your primary ones as much as you can. And because that's where all your information and data is. So at least you feel more secure in that you're doing your best as an individual to protect yourself.
Agreed. I just want to add, as I was sitting here thinking, I thought of something else to add to my point, especially about WhatsApp and social media. Apps in general, especially for the Android users. iOS users don't really have this challenge right now. But for folks on Android who can install third-party applications outside of the Play Store, so in particular WhatsApp, you want to be careful about the apps that you install on your phone, because if you utilize, I don't think GB WhatsApp is around anymore, but if you utilize FB WhatsApp, which is a alternative version that allows you to do other stuff, if you want to make yourself not seen online and other fancy things, if you want to install Teams and things and such, those other versions of WhatsApp that are not inside the Play Store aren't as secure. So there's no guarantee that the end-to-end encryption will work for that, because that would have been somebody, an app developer, taking a WhatsApp original APK, modifying it, and then having it for anybody to download. and it's very easy for viruses to be installed on your phone, and also for the end-to-end encryption to be compromised. So that's something to note as well for persons who might be installing third-party software on their phone that doesn't come from the Play Store. Yeah, Josiah.
Hi, afternoon, everyone. So, this recently happened, like 3 days ago, but I'm not too sure what was the reason behind it. But for my mom, her email account got attacked by spams. So I don't know how they got into the email, but like the person sent her email, and it was kind of looping back. I kind of way where it was sending it to and from and to and from. Yesterday she was like, just you could watch my email from her, and she had 3,000 emails, and it was generating like every 2 minutes and sending it to and from to some random email address with a document in it. So I saw when they were talking about the document. I find it kind of interesting that happened so recent now, but I want to believe that she sent something, or like she got her email from somebody and she replied or click on some kind of link by mistake, and it got into her account. So I changed her password and everything last night, and I make sure and I did the verification via phone as well as a double authenticator. But yeah, it was kind of weird because it was a randomly generated email kind of thing. But that was the attack that I know about.
Thanks for sharing that. That is interesting. It's the first time I'm hearing, at least to that extent, of something like that happening. So did you have to manually clean up afterwards? So after you change your password, set up with multi-factor, I assume you still have to go through manually and delete the generated stuff.
Yeah, I had to, because it wasn't the same email address all the time. It was different email addresses, and the like 1 digit more, 1 digit less would send the email, like
Right.
the username and the email address. But it was kind of odd. First time I saw it from myself as well.
Right. Okay. Of late I have been getting one of my emails one of my old emails. I've been getting a lot of emails from like a shell talking about like gas rewards and that kind of stuff. So it's always interesting to look out for those things. My advice is always, just as in general, have 2 email addresses. Sound like weird advice, but you see all those things you want to sign up for, and they are always actually for email contact. Yeah, use a spam email for that. So it's your email you have access to it. It's still secured as well with multi-factor authentication, but you want to keep like your personal email for official stuff, and then subscriptions and things you want to sign up for, you could utilize the second email to kind of reduce the risk of that happening as well. I am seeing 2 questions in the chat.
Yeah, I saw
Cracked
them as well.
software is also a threat. If I understand the question correctly, referring to like if you're pirating software on the assumption of that, I'll wait for the person to confirm, but on the assumption that that's what they mean, then yes, pirating software is always a is always a toss-up. You're always flipping a coin because you're never quite sure what you might possibly be downloading. And just like with the email attachments of all kind of unknown file extensions, the same thing could happen when you torrenting files. So you might see a .exe, but then the .exe has something else on the end, so it's multiple file extensions, and the last one, as Kadem mentioned, is the only one that counts. So you're never quite sure what you're downloading. Antiviruses are important when it relates to that. So yeah, make sure your antivirus is on point. If you choose to go the route of crack software, which I would advise against personally, but I know in some circumstances, for whatever reasons, if you do have to go that route, yeah, make sure your antivirus and stuff is well updated and on point. And make sure and read through what you're downloading. before you download it. As an alternative version of YouTube, I've never heard of this one, YouTube Advanced. Could you give me some context in terms of what it does? Is it an app or a website? But any alternative versions that is not original, if it's an app and you're not downloading it through the Play Store, because the Play Store gives you, when you build an app and you put it in the Play Store, there are a lot of security checks that Google does. So, ooh, remove the ads. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, so it depends. If it's an app, then again, anything outside of the Play Store is questionable. So you might want to lean in on, you know, the secure things. I don't know if Kadem wants to add in on any of those points, any of those questions.
Yeah, I'll just add in something there. So in relation to the cracked software, as we say, or pirated software, yeah, that's a big no-no in the cybersecurity space. There's a lot of risk with it. The website you download it from could be a dangerous website. The crack, as we say, could contain malware, viruses. Of course, you will not get any updates for that software, no customer support, and sometimes it may not even work. I could tell you, I've tried these when I was in at a younger age, try crack software. I had to go around the world before you could install. I mean, it's sometimes it's just a hassle, to be honest, and there's a lot of services out there that's not that expensive now, especially your antivirus systems. So I would suggest from a best practice approach that you try your best to stay away from cracked software, especially a cracked antivirus, because you probably just downloading a virus just the same. You don't know who are the third parties that are posting this for you. The YouTube bans, first time I'm hearing about it, just the same. And as I say, it basically removes ads from YouTube. Now, as Kishan would have been referenced there, we should always try our best to obtain application from the Play Store. Now, I know based on our region, certain apps probably are not available because of that. And it could be a challenge just the same in trying to obtain an app that is in the Play Store, but it's not available in our region. So at least if it's in the Play Store, maybe you could feel a sense of you could feel better about it, knowing that, okay, it's a verified app that you could have gotten from the Play Store, but it's not available in our region. That's what I wanted to add in there. I see another question just popped in the chat about what antivirus software is recommended. There is a lot. There is a lot. From what I could say, you can use, at least I could identify like a few. You could use a Norton 360. That's a very good antivirus software. You could use AVG. AVG I know comes sometimes standard with your computers when you just buy them. You could use applications that are Malwarebytes. All right. Off the top of my head, those are like the three I probably would recommend to someone. Not sure if Estona has any other comments there. We have a hand up too. So
no, I think yeah, you covered the main ones that I would recommend as well. Of course, Windows Defender out of the box is really good, but to make sure you're secure, yeah, you could use any of those that you recommended. I see Vashti has another question.
Yes, I use the Kaspersky antivirus, but within that software, they ask if we want to access the VPN, which is an additional cost. What is this VPN and why is it an additional cost within an antivirus?
okay, so let me just start it there. So VPN is basically, so I use that yes, and that's another one just the same I would have used in the past. So the VPN is basically saying it's a virtual private network, and some of it this is a feature that's not always as a package with the antivirus system. It's an additional cost, and they're basically for, let's use an example for remote work. You're at home, COVID hits, the company gave you a laptop, let's just say, and you have to work from home. Now, in order to access the company information from your home, you have to do it through a secure channel. So not the regular highway that anybody have access to, a secured path that only you, between you at home and the company's servers or computers at work. And once you create that secure channel, then no one, encrypted secure channel, then no one has access to that channel. So that is the VPN feature, basically, in a nutshell. It's typically used in a working environment. A lot of people use it in a multitude of ways now. Some people, as an example, I'm not sure who's aware, you may have your Netflix and you want to watch a show that's offered in Netflix United States, but Netflix down here has nothing at all, like literally nothing. So a VPN would basically like tell the Netflix server, hey, I am in America, I'm not in Trinidad, so give me access to all the American shows that I want to look at. I hope that answers in a sense where I'm going. I'm sure because I want to again jump in.
Okay, I just wanted to know if I am not using the Kaspersky on any device that is involved in work, it's for personal, then it's not necessary to pay extra to get that additional security.
Not necessarily. I mean,
Okay.
It's an additional cost. So as I say, a lot of other people use it for, just as the Netflix example, if you want to do
Okay.
that.
Okay.
But if you want to save a couple of dollars, no problem in that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Guess I'm not sure if you want to add it into that.
No, you covered the VPN quite well. The main purpose of it is to hide your location, right? Yeah, to hide your communication. So unless you don't need it, then you could save some money, as Kadem said. Especially if you're already using a antivirus, then yeah. I'm not sure if you have any more questions. Kadem, you want to take this one and I'll chime in after?
So we have a question in the chat. Would you recommend using DuckDuckGo browser software over Google? Remind me again, I've never used DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, I could.
It's a browser, right?
Yeah, so it is an alternative to Chrome and Edge and Firefox and so on. It's a search engine, yeah, as the person mentioned. So the aim of it is to be a little more secure, so it doesn't track you as much on things like that. Personally, I use it. It's my main browser on my phone. I don't use Samsung Internet or Chrome or anything like that on my phone. And on my laptop, I use it with Firefox. So it's good, and it's not at any additional cost. So I know some people use DuckDuckGo, some people use Brave. Yeah, I would not advise against it. If you want to try it out, you can. Yeah, it's just an additional layer of comfort, I guess, because the security. What I like about DuckDuckGo, especially on your phone, it kind of rates the security of websites that you visit, and it allows you to kind of have an idea of how secure this website is. So if you're going to visit something that you're not too sure how secure it is, how safe it is, yeah, it's good to have.
I'm not sure if anybody else would like to.
Yeah, I would just like to share experience. So this was before the pandemic. I just want to say that I think people are more aware of fake links and those type of things. But I think when fake links just started to be used, I mean, I gave Keston and Kadem this example already. I mean, somebody very high up in a corporation actually sent me a link saying I could win a plane ticket, and I sent it to somebody else, I think, as well. And they said, this is a fake link. So it was sent to me by somebody who could have known better, because I know they like to travel. So as soon as they saw, oh, could win a ticket, they started to send it to a lot of people. So it's just to show you that, you know, anybody, even persons who should know better, could sometimes fall prey to these fake links. And I don't know if Kester or Kadem could answer. Is there a way to test if a link is fake? Because sometimes when I sent it to somebody, I don't know what they were able to check, and then they told me that it was fake.
From my experience, I don't know from my experience. I've never heard anybody. Of course, there are tools you can use, but I've never been exposed to those tools. I've kind of taken the approach where I probably, just as an example, around Christmas time or festive seasons, we have a lot of chain messages, and I would probably tell people, I told my family once, don't send me no chain message. If you send me a chain message, I would block you for like a week, because you don't know who's sending this thing, etc. So I kind of put up a lot of barriers before some of these things, and a message might come to me and I just delete it before I even look at it. So I might get a message from somebody saying Merry Christmas. Yeah, probably just delete that altogether, and probably tell them Merry Christmas in return. But Keslan, if you want to share any tools you know of.
Yeah, there is one that you can use. Trying to get the name of it so I could just drop it in the chat that I know of. That is pretty good. It does like a general scan of the URL to see. Yeah, I found it. So I'm just gonna drop it in the chat. You could use it if you think if somebody sends you a random link on WhatsApp and say, whoa, what's going on here? It will do a quick check to see if the LinkedIn example you mentioned, Kadem, with the extra I. It will kind of check those things to see if it's a secure link, check to see if there's any malware associated with the website. It's pretty okay as a first pass to check to make sure. It will check most importantly, check to make sure that the SSL certificates, the HTTPS is functioning as it should. And, you know, it kind of gives you a report on whether you could trust this or not. So it's a pretty okay site that you can use that's free to check. In addition to checking for the usual telltale signs of misspellings and no HTTPS and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that Mr. Rivers had some good tips here too. Ensure the website is official, like what you guys were saying for the misspelling. You know, check the official company's website. So I think that's what the person did. So it was like, you know, win a free trip. And I think that's what they did now. Sort of it's a bit coming back to me a bit. I think he went to check if it was like British Airways or so. You know, he went to check to see if they had any sale or anything like that, or just looked up to see if, you know, there was some sort of fake correspondence going on. And I think that's how he checked it as well.
Yeah, you tend to see that a lot, especially around, as I say, the festive season. One of the biggest things is sometimes a lot of people, you get what we call notification fatigue, where you just getting a bunch of notifications coming through, and it takes time to process. And sometimes you just say, okay, maybe this one, I say, hey, oh, I've been looking at the Samsung Galaxy S21. Me check it out. Let me do something. The gift card scams, you know. A lot of people tend to try to do a lot of scamming in the holiday season. So it's just something to keep in mind, that there are offers out there that, you know, seem too good to be true sometimes. But of course, if you go on the site, you do your background research just the same, and you recognize is as an example, is TN Tech really hiring somebody, or is that an attack, a scam, you know? Or is this remote job legit, or is it from my Chinese brother, washy, just as an example, saying, hey, I'm trying to scam you here right now. So yeah, just keep your guard up. That's one of the most important things. Keep your guard and look out for the telltale signs. And of course, do a website security check if can be. Also, one of the things that you can do is for those of us who, if you hover over the like the link Keston shared, you see it brings you exactly to where it is that you're going. So SSL Trust on the second link. But typically when they put links, a lot of links that they give you, like say you open an email and you look at the link, it doesn't, and you hover over, you don't click, it sometimes shows you. So as an example, so let me probably just share my screen there. Could have, it's coming up, but it's coming up in the back. But I think you get the idea. If you just hover over, it could show you exactly where you're sending you. So some bad links would show you, okay, it may seem like a LinkedIn, but then when you look at it, you see it sending you to www.getyourinformation.com. And then you know for sure, well, nah, this is not a LinkedIn. This is definitely an attack. So I was trying to show it, but I guess you guys get the idea.
Yeah, just to add to that's a really good point you mentioned, Kadem, because a lot of malicious people would send you a very long URL, and then the email might shorten it, so you can't tell what the rest of the URL says, and it just kind of trails off. So that hover over is a pretty good way of figuring out if this is legit or not.
Yes. Lots of cybersecurity tips and tricks here. I think a lot of us are becoming more and more aware. So we have a question here in the chat about deep web. Well, the deep web. I haven't delved into the deep web. I know of people who have. All I could say is that is something at your own risk, to be honest with you. If you do, for some reason, if you have to, or you choose to dive into that realm, then of course do so with a fake profile. You know, don't use your everyday profile that you use, you know, constantly, etc. Try to use something that's way off, you know, and if you need to, and if you have to, then of course, but I would not recommend diving into that realm, else it could be a scary environment, and there are a lot of crazy folks out there that could easily you could easily piss off. So stick to the surface for now, please. That's my advice.
Yeah, I second that very much. Don't do it. Not only could you potentially get scared by what you see there and lose your faith in humanity, the security of it is it's a no from me. I would not recommend doing it. I can't think of a need for anybody to want to go on the dark web. So yeah, stay away.
There was a movie.
It's
I think there was a movie. Because I know there was a movie that came out a couple of years ago. Somebody went on the dark web, and it basically showed you within like a few hours, some people came into their house and started to kill them off one by one because they saw something that they shouldn't see.
Yeah, I know movies generally very far-fetched in terms of technology and what hacking is and all that stuff, but in a very real way, you can endanger yourself by going on the dark web. And I'm not saying that to scare people, of course. Yeah, yes, the dark web can have good things, but for the most part, it's not a controlled environment. It's whatever goes. There's no security, nobody cares. And if you see something, as Kadem said, that you shouldn't have seen, you know, you could never tell what the repercussions could be. So generally speaking, it's a no. While you might be curious about wondering what the dark web is and what is on it, maybe just look at a documentary on YouTube if you're so curious. But don't go there yourself.
Yeah, I would agree. So let me backtrack and say, if you need to, just don't. Please don't even create anything. Just simply don't. keep yourself safe, keep your family safe, your friends safe, because they don't only target you, they target people around you. So please keep safe. I just want to say thank you also to everyone for your participation, your attendance. It is greatly appreciated to have you here this afternoon. Think of this session and session 2 as your journey to becoming a better equipped cyber hero. And that's what I would like to phrase everybody inside here. We are all cyber heroes, and that we help protect ourselves and each other. So of course, let's continue to practice, to perform our safe practices and keep ourselves, our family, friends, everyone safe, you know, just try our best. So yeah, that's it for me.